Welcome back to the Changed by Fire podcast. Heal, healing, empowering, accepting, and living. How have you embodied those aspects of late in life?
Every day. Every day.
Good job, Lori. Well, I'm Jen. I am a burn survivor since 2017 and brought into this wonderful community by this young lady right here.
I know, this is an amazing, full circle type moment, meeting and re-meeting again. My name's Lori. I'm a holistic trauma therapist, and I've been pretty active in the burn community in a variety of roles for the past 15 years. So, recap last episode on our season 5 of Fears. We really talked about that fear as your dance partner. How do fears show up? Noticing your specific fear responses and practicing a little bit of fear dancing versus fear management, working with versus controlling. And then there was our takeaway technique of pendulation, that kind of going back and forth between different places in your body that you might carry fear, but you might carry other emotions, other sensations. So, how have you sprinkled those into your life routines? Maybe made a little two-step in how you've been doing, how you've been living. This fourth and final episode of our season on fears, it's a short one this time, but don't worry, we got more for you. We're going to focus on living with perspective, wide lens living. So let's get ready to widen our lens. Let's get healing.
Woohoo! Yes. So we're jumping from the dreaded F word to some lovely L words. Yes, loving and living. And this is part of what we were walking or dancing into.
Always a little dance.
Always dancing. In our last episode, noticing and naming and understanding our fears and accepting and loving on them for allowing a little shift and adjustment, refocusing. And our fears allow us to notice danger and disconnection in our own human system and provide an opportunity to move us toward connection with ourselves, with each other, and with the world around us.
Isn't that the truth? Fear gives us clues. Fear gives us cues about where and how we can move our system, where and how we might need a sense of connection. Fear really has a tendency to root in our tissues. There's a common phrase, especially in somatics work, your issues are in your tissues. Really a cognitive somatic connection piece there. So fear takes root in our thinking patterns, in our emotions, in our behaviors. It creates almost a whole body form. That tangibility of fear. A fear body. And when we identify with that fear body, when we're living inside the thoughts and the feelings of our fears, we can easily get trapped in some sort of trance-like, frozen-like state where we're cut off from our whole capacity, where we can struggle learning, getting creative, engaging in life, being present, having that open heart and mindset. That fear body trance, that frozen state of fear can cut us off from who we are, from our wholehearted selves as a person, to where maybe we're going through the motions of life. We're thinking about, what might go wrong rather than living in what is. We forget about the people who care about us, that have the capacity to care about us. We see through this monstrosity, creation of fear, and that becomes who and how we see ourselves, how we live. Kind of scary.
Mm.
Fear becomes a monster in that fear body trance. We notice our bodies contracting. Maybe we see the tension in certain parts of our body, how we posture ourselves. Headaches. So our body contracts, our body goes to this pressurized state. Our minds, similarly, we have fear thoughts. What if this? What if this? What if this? Judgments, obsessions. We push to figure things out, to fix it, to make it better. We have these emotional contractures, these loops: fear, depression, jealousy, anger. Maybe we move into some of those fear management, those unhealthy strategies that we briefly touched on our last episode. Oversleeping to avoid having to face something.
Mm-hmm.
Eating or overeating to overly self-soothe. Substances to make it all go away. Staying super duper busy. Rationalizing how we do things or don't do things. Finding different ways to order, to schedule, to control how we live life. Maybe sound a little familiar.
I don't think anyone could deny
You know,
that at least some of that.
we all go through that. And I think there's also that mindfulness as human beings. We're going to fall into fear management
Mhm.
versus, working with and dancing with fear at times. That's the human nature, is like we do not do everything perfect, and we cannot.
What?
I know.
I know,
That's
right?
scary.
Yeah, I mean, rooted fear and these patterns can really deplete ourselves,
Mhm.
damage ourself and others, and create an even greater aversion to the fears and feeling bad about how we're living, working, operating. But we can change this. It's a conditioned response that
Mhm.
we can uncondition.
Again, the validity in being aware of things. Because
Mhm.
if you're aware, then you notice and you can work with it.
We've got the power. Yes.
Love
So
that.
what we are talking about here is living with perspective, moving from a more like that survival state of living to a more mindful state of
Mm.
living. And that's really it, mindfulness, where we are present. We can separate the past, what happened before, what we did before, things we regret before. We can separate that from this moment.
Mhm.
Fears from facts, can be in the moment,
Mhm.
through it all. In living with perspective, we learn to see problems as opportunities versus hindrances. We move from excuses to avoid to allowing for curiosity to
Mhm.
face and move through it. How does that sound? Right? Walking through it. Let's get
Mhm.
through it.
It's like I'm a horse that took my blinders off. So, what does this perspective living mean to you? I mean, how do you identify that concept? I think with that concept, for me, when I think of perspective living, it is that like big picture,
Mhm.
moving outside of maybe what just I see with my own eyeballs and this situation and this circumstance with this group of people to, okay, like what might this person see surrounding it? Can I see like what could happen after that? Can I navigate what this could look like with another set of that people? So it's that widening that view of how and what I'm seeing. Also
Mhm.
recognizing when we're in those danger states, we tend to more narrow view and look at things and look at the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I've thought back to, speaking of looking at your past and regrets and, "Oh my god, I should have done this, shoulda, woulda,
Mm.
coulda." There's always a little bit of that, "Wow, if I had only known then what I know now." But what I know now is that widening of the lens, is I've
Uh-huh.
seen more, I've experienced more, and maybe as we move through life, we have different tools, to help us, and yeah, it's definitely broadening your perspective to being able to apply more than just what you have at that moment,
Mhm.
you know? We're always building new tools.
That we are.
Yep. Cool, man. So, let's see. So, in living with perspective, we are talking about widening that lens of how we see life, right?
Mhm.
And finding some sense of connection in our paths of living, some basic level of safety so that we can face our fears and resource through and with them.
Mhm.
We're talking about finding and living in a sense of presence, unconditional and mindful presence in self and life.
Yeah, moving away from judgment to
Mm-hmm.
awareness, from
Yes.
doing to being. So, widening our lens, what does that look like? What are some examples of that? So, if we're looking at fear and how we widen our lens in the concept of fear, because remember, fear tends to put us in those dangerous states of living,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that's going to be built around awareness. So, noticing and naming that fear and its affect on us and allowing ourselves to ground into the now. Okay, I'm going back to the hospital and I'm feeling this pit in my stomach and my clammy hands and my really rapid heartbeat. I'm going to notice what's going on in my body. I'm going to name that fear. I'm going to recognize, okay, this hospital, this surgery, or what this represented to me, that was then. Where am I at right now in this moment? In my body. What's not happening right now? Where's my safety?
Mm.
We're going to move from a protective to more a connective way of living. So, meaning rather than isolating and avoiding ourselves from everyone and everything, we're going to engage in maybe involving other new pieces to connect with, seeking out a sense of support, clarity, understanding, explanation. We're going to see more than just one side of a situation, maybe take in insights from others, from life lived. Okay, well, this person said that this was kind of helpful in this situation. I'm going to take that into account rather than continue my typical pattern of living
Mm.
things. Oh, this person said that this lotion was very helpful in the healing process. I'm going to maybe try it on for size. We're going to see a little bit of duality maybe in how we have lived to how we can live. We're going to allow ourselves to feel into the emotions, the experiences, and dive in deep and trust what we can share, what we can show. My fear really kind of keeps me frozen in this place where I feel like I can't get out of doing what I typically do. Is it like that for you? And maybe that's sharing with a peer, with a partner, with a group, with a mentor. We're going to allow ourselves to take in a sense of hope, to maybe see what life could look like outside of that fear. What maybe weeks, months, years down the road could be like that. To embrace a new reality in which we can more wholly and heartfully step into. Now, when we talk about widening our lens and with particularity in the burn, healing, and recovery journey, Jen, what has that been like for you? Because I think you're also a really great example of facing and widening and stepping into life as it is and as it could be.
Right. Well, I've talked about it before how your sense of self kind of changes a little bit.
Mm.
And you're applying a moniker, as it were, where before I may have been Jen, the student, Jen, the worker, all these, things that we are. Now it's also Jen, the burn survivor. And yeah, it's been an evolution, I guess. But I was also very lucky to be at a point in life where I didn't allow that new moniker to become my only moniker
Mm.
and was able to just integrate it because I didn't want to just be, oh my God, there's Jen, the burn survivor, especially because people on the outside tend to uh, sort of apply this, not pity per se, um, but you don't want to be seen as just that, just someone who
Mhm.
survived this one thing, because we survive a lot in life, and this is just one of those things that I survived and one of those scary things in life. And yeah, I mean, moving forward, it's just been being able to not be afraid of this new life or afraid of the scars that I have on my body or worried about how the outside world is looking at me. It's allowed me um, to embrace embrace being a little bit different, perhaps,
Mhm.
especially for those of us and those of you who are burned in a way that the whole outside world knows it. For those of us who have any of our face, our head, visible parts of our body where we're having people look at us in a different way, and that can be very scary for people,
Mhm.
and I think it's a lot of what people fear. It's one thing to go through something and no one else can see it. What you have
Mhm.
going on the inside right now, you can smile through. No one may know you have anything going on.
Mhm.
But our physical being, to have something that you can't walk into a grocery store and have people not notice something that's different or unique about you, whether it's your pink hair or, you know, burns to your body, something that people are noticing. So I think that's a big fear for a lot of burn survivors.
Yeah.
Um, and to be able to really embrace that, to dance with that, as we
Mhm.
talked about before, and to put it in a positive light. So I think that has been really nice for me to it really allowed me to let go of the expectations of society as far as
Mm.
how we look, you know, be you. And it's a wonderful time in history anyway for that. The whole world is really embracing be yourself. You don't
Yeah.
need to conform to what other people want you to be. You can just be you. So I think for me as a burn survivor, that was a big thing, and it made it for me to just be accepting of who I am from this moment on. Um, has made life a little less scary in that
Well,
way.
and I think you have so many great examples of really widening your lens. Like you could have avoided going back to work,
Mhm.
avoided going out and seeing people, avoided mirrors, avoided facing your scars, decided, well, I don't want to go to therapy because therapy's hard. And like, I don't want to I'm just going to like check out of all this. But no, like you went and sought out EMDR to kind of navigate how big of a fear hold had on you.
Yeah,
You addressed yoga, scar massage to kind of come to a sense of support and okayness in your body and movement in your body.
yeah.
You found other ways to kind of stand out and embrace the individuality and uniqueness of you and kind of how you change your hair, how you dress,
It's
how
a
you
lot.
do things. And it's like you've really worked with to where fear does not empower you.
Right.
And to where I love how you mentioned as well, like your burns are not your only aspect of you in life, and that's not all you
Yes.
see, and because of that, that's not the only thing that others around you see as well.
Yay. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So our takeaway today, it's really going to be again around that sense of widening your lens. And this is our last takeaway of this season of fear. I know this is a shorter one, but don't worry, we got more coming for you. And our gift for you, and just to more wholly address that fear body and widen your lens of living, allowing for just a little sense of tenderness, of compassion, of nurturing, of presence in life. I call it present fear, open heart. I like to have a lot of names and titles for things. I feel like that gives them an additional value of honoring in the work that they allow for you. And so this may be a little bit of a shorter journey, but sometimes I think it's important to have shorter and longer tools and techniques that you can weave into your practice. And in this practice, we're going to be working with fear. So start thinking about a fear that comes to mind. Again, I always like to work with those lesser ones first. But after you have time and presence and opportunity to work with techniques over and over, you can choose slightly bigger fears. And you can really gain a greater grasp of working with throughout all of the different fears that may be kind of coming up in your life. You can have your eyes open, your eyes closed. So we're just going to notice a fear, any fear that comes to mind right now. Maybe picking one of those lesser ones that doesn't super activate your body. Maybe like a 3 or 4. I mean, maybe you're choosing a 5 or 6 this time. Probably not starting with a 10. And I just want you to notice as you breathe and allow yourself to notice this fear. As you notice and focus on that fear, what's the affect it creates, your mind, your body? Notice if anything is happening internally. We're just noticing at this point. Does your heart rate change? Does your breathing change? Are you starting to tense any particular parts of your body? And then we're going to allow additional noticing. And sometimes when we add an element of touch to noticing what's going on within, it actually can help us to work with our body. So we're going to place a hand on our heart and continue noticing that fear and breathing with it. Just noticing how that touch, how that gentleness, how that breath might be soothing and nurturing and working and dancing with that fear, with how it sits in your system. We're going to add an element of tone. Notice my soft and gentle tone and try to match with one of your own. We're going to add a mantra to that touch, to that breath, to that presence, to soothe, to work with any fear at hand. And maybe that mantra might be, may I be held in love. May I feel protected. May I touch peace. May I be held in love. May I feel protected. May I touch peace. And your mantra can be similar or different than mine. We're just building a holding place with our words, with our breath, with our tone, to allow us to work with, to open our hearts, to move our fear within. And maybe with that mantra, you coordinate it with an image. Maybe you have an image of a mountain in your mind's eye, that when you think of fear, you see that mountain, you connect to that strength. Fear, strength. Maybe you see that fear and you connect it with a sense of presence. It will be okay. I can work with you. Noticing that combination of fear, touch, movement, tone, soothing words. Notice the affect in you, the embodiment of how you work with your fear, and what happens to your heart, to your body, to what you're bringing in. What was that like for you? What did you notice about your fear, your heart, your whole body as you moved through that?
That was very nice. Anytime a little meditation is good.
Mm,
But yeah, that left me feeling a little more peaceful.
mm,
Yeah,
a little more open. It's
a little more
amazing
open.
the capacities of, and this is something I find, and we may dwell on in a future episode or a future season, just touch,
Mhm.
tone, breath, words, especially within our own body and creation, how we really have such a capacity to regulate, to repair our system.
Mhm.
I love that. Love, love, love that. So, this is a great way to really work with fear. Open your heart, widen your lens, regulate your life. And I hope it was something you found helpful for you. Feel free to choose and use it and apply it as you can. And Change by Fire is all about techniques such as this to really work with your body, regulate your system. And again, Change by Fire is a 501c3 nonprofit that's meant to support and empower burn survivors and their family through the life post burn injury, connecting with alternative healing techniques, community, building a whole sense of self. We have a variety of events throughout Arizona. And then we also are launching some additional online platforms, connections, support needs, really looking to empower people with building a sense of wholeness post injury, a sense of connection. This podcast is one of those amazing healing elements that really is meant to provide a piece of education, a piece of empowerment, a piece of understanding, connection, tools you can use and apply in your own life, no matter where you're at in this state, in the United States, in the world. And we are looking for additional guest hosts, burn survivors who, maybe, just
Yeah.
maybe you want to be like Jen and you want to give back in a way and connect in a way that can further bring to light what you've learned. Share that, empower that with others.
Absolutely. And remember, burn survivors are us, the people who have survived the burns, but also the family members who've been through it.
Yeah.
Um, we can learn so much from the people who have stood by as
Mm-hmm.
their loved ones are injured and suffering and going through the process. All of y'all um, can be helped by this podcast, by the services that are provided by Change by Fire. It's a whole community, and it's not just the people who have suffered the burns, but those who have suffered along with them and grown and come out of it.
Such a truth. And also,
Mhm.
additionally, like having someone on the podcast, whether it be a co-host or someone as a guest speaker who is in one of those other aspects of the burn community,
Yeah.
yet still is part of the burn community, I feel like would such be such a just normalizing, empowering, amazing thing. It's just a whole nother aspect of healing. So if that might be you, please reach out to us at
Yeah.
www.changebyfire.com.
Yes. We look forward to seeing you next time. It's gonna be a new season, right?
It is.
Ooh, new topic. What we
What are
gonna
we going to talk
do?
about,
What
Jen?
we gonna do? It's gonna be a surprise. No, we
Just
no,
wait.
just
Just
kidding.
wait.
We gotta work on it. But no, we do have another season coming up, Finding Identity. So we talked a little bit about that today. There are just different aspects, and then the whole. So we're gonna be talking about that a little bit in the next season.
I love how we always give these little previews. It just seems to work that way where it's like one pod or one episode weaves into the
Yeah.
next and season into
Mhm.
the next. But again, just like it's like a little trail of treats that we're just like leading you towards that ginormous gingerbread house.
You know it. You know it. But you know how we always end our podcasts? With the HEAL
Mm-hmm.
acronym. Are you ready, you guys? Are you ready? Okay, here we go. H. Have the courage to take off your fear body blinders. Take them off. E. Engage in seeing from a wider view outside of just your own. Allow yourself to embrace the fear and big emotions and live with the wide lens of life, embracing presence and hope in all of you, body and heart.
I love that. Heal is such a great way to just gauge and engage in life every step, every movement, every moment of the way. And we're so happy to be able to share all of this with a community like you. So stay tuned until next time.
Yay, see you soon.
Bye
Bye.
bye.